This apple has been on my desk for an entire year, and we're going to celebrate its anniversary today. Coming up next on KRT LYFE. KRT LYFE with a Y. All right, so we are KRT LYFE. Welcome back, and this is the first day of October, and it is the anniversary for this apple that's been sitting on my desk for an entire year, actually more than a year now, and I'm going to tell you the entire story of this apple. And this vlog that was supposed to be a simple vlog, we're going to try to still keep it simple, but man, this goes in so many directions. I even had to break out my notes to follow during the course of this vlog.
Research took us really deep.
Yeah, really deep, and we didn't even really want to go that deep. But, so let me start with the backstory. So this apple has been sitting on my desk for a year. Actually, it has been sitting on my desk more than a year. The story on this apple goes like this. One day, I think we were picking up Sonia from school, and they give them these green apples.
Indeed.
Now, these green apples are extremely hard. They're like a baseball hard. So when you try to eat these apples, you're like, you bite it and it's bitter and it's sour. It's like, I don't want this apple. And you end up literally throwing it away most of the time because it's that trash. But I kept one of those apples and I took it to work with me. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit this apple on my desk and see how long it takes for this apple to become ripe enough for me to eat. 2 months passed. It was still as hard as a baseball. 3 months passed, it was still hard. And I was just like, man, how long has this apple been sitting on my desk? So then I dated it. And October 1st is when I actually dated, October 1st of 2018 is when I actually dated this apple and was like, you know what? I'm going to see how long this apple will last.
Yes.
So I didn't know this apple would last a year, but I was putting it in my IG stories. And I was like, well, here's an update on the apple. 6 months later, it's still green, still hard, and so on and so forth until it has come to its anniversary and a full year living on my desk.
There's no telling also how long that apple been at the producer before they actually were giving it to children.
Yes, so we don't know how long this was actually in a store or at an agricultural like center before it even got to the end user, which would be us.
Yes.
Because as we did our research for this video, we found out that the apples that you buy on your shelf could be at least a year old.
In the store,
the
apples
store.
you buy can be a year-old apple.
So this got us going through this whole thing about GMO and what is it? Genetically modified organisms, genetically engineering food, trans-engineered foods, selective breeding of foods. What's the differences? Like, this is really complicated. We're going to try to get into all this, but we were going in one direction about the apple. Okay, it's been a year. So how does the apple look and feel right now as of a year? And if you look at this apple closely, on the back side of it, it's a little wrinkled. It's kind of to show signs of aging and all that kind of stuff. It was on my desk in a climate-controlled environment, but it wasn't like, in direct sunlight or anything like that. It was just sitting literally on my desk. It is finally a little soft and wrinkly. So that's the current state of this apple as it speaks after a year.
Still looks very green to me.
But it still looks very green, and we're gonna find out towards the end of this video what it looks like on the inside, if we can still eat this or not. So I'm gonna go through these notes so we can stay on track. So GMO foods, like what's the difference between selective breeding, genetically modified, and genetically engineered, and what did I say? Transitional engineered. Don't quote us on this because we're not scientists.
Yes.
So
we
if
just
we get
did the research. That's all it is.
If we get some of this terminology wrong, forgive us. But there's a difference because selective breeding takes a lot of time because you got to take two different plants and you got to make them breed together, hope that they breed, see what happens, and keep going through that process to modify an organism and make it something different. Genetically modifying an organism, from what we research, is just that. But I guess you can do it a little bit faster with modern science. And then there comes trans-species engineering, if we're saying that properly.
Which just blew my mind.
Yeah, tell them about that.
So Reza sent me this article in the prep for this video and the research. One part of the article said that they take certain genes out of fish and use it for spinach for it to stay greener and like fresher longer. From fish to spinach. Yeah,
and they can take these genes from different organisms and try to recreate the traits of one organism within another organism. And the companies that are at the forefront of doing this are companies like Monsanto, which was a chemical company, but now is into biotech. And Monsanto, what was the other one? It was, where is it in my notes? DuPont. So DuPont, which was also a chemical
Yes.
company that is now doing the biological engineering stuff. So the backstory on Monsanto and Monsanto's claim to fame was with this whole thing with Roundup. And they created this chemical called Roundup that was an herbicide that could kill all
Pesticides
types of
and
plants
stuff,
and stuff
weeds,
like
yeah.
that. And then on top of that, the icing on the cake was they created vegetables and plants that were resistant to the Roundup. So you could just spray this pesticide all over everything and your crops wouldn't die, but the weeds and stuff would. And this like completely blew my mind. And it's just like, how do people not know about this and not talk about this? And this is not like common knowledge. It just escapes me. But I mean, I didn't know about it, but
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like the separation between agriculture and humans has gotten so deep.
Yes.
We live in a world now where people eat chickens who've never seen chicken before. And people eat certain plants and certain things that they've never seen in this raw natural state. So they have no idea where it's coming from, no idea what it takes to grow it,
Yes.
what idea what it takes to harvest this kind of stuff. And there's so much left out of the loop in common knowledge. There's a lot going on. And I'm trying to get through this quick and unpackage all this, but like just talking about this on camera just like blows my mind every time I like make some of these crazy statements. So let's move on. The separation. Let's see. That's the backstory. It's like the
pesticides.
breeding. I talked about the pesticides.
Yeah, that would kill the weeds.
And then let's see. Okay.
Oh, one more thing that blew my mind. I didn't realize they can take only certain genes out of plants or whatever they're taking it out of, and actually, genetically modified whatever they want to modify with. They literally pick one thing,
One trait
that they want to take and use it. It's just like, really?
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, we live in this world now where it's like there's this, people are so out of touch with agriculture. We have people that rather eat mystery meat than go and hunt their own meat. Like we killed some iguanas like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And people are like, oh my God, y'all shot iguanas and ate them. That's so unbelievable. But to me, it's unbelievable that people are going to Burger King and eating this mystery meat and these Wonder Burgers that is meat from a lab that tastes like meat, but it's supposed to be plant-based.
It actually has that's what blew my mind. It has a texture of the meat. What is it that we use that would make it, okay, maybe the flavoring, somehow I can see that's done. What would we use to make a texture feel like meat, but it isn't?
I don't know, but all this stuff just blows my mind. And I guess like the bottom line is that I want to get to with this is this stuff safe? Like they told us that a lot of stuff back in the day was safe. They ended up not being safe and ended up being carcinogenic. I was just reading an article from NPR and it was saying that Roundup was found to be somewhat carcinogenic. And originally they're saying that it was Monsanto executives were saying that it's safe, and they're trying to prohibit and slow down the actual study on the carcinogenic effects of these different chemicals that they're putting all over our food every single day. And not just chemicals that they're putting on food, gases that they also inject into our food. Like, I mean, it gets so
Which would make
deep.
sense. Like, why would you believe the company who is directly interested in selling this product when they tell, oh yeah, that's safe?
Exactly.
You need the independent studies and somebody who you know for a fact are not going to be biased to do this.
And then a lot of countries don't even allow this. Like the EU doesn't allow it.
No.
And a lot
Majority
of countries
of
in the world.
Europe is very, very suspicious of all this stuff.
Yeah, so they don't do it at all. And speaking on that, so when we travel and when we go to Europe and we go to these other countries and different places where we get either farm-raised food or we get food that's like non-GMO, like you instantly notice the difference in your body, in your digestive system, in your bowel movements, your energy level. Like when I'm in Jamaica and I'm eating like all this food that's like fresh from the trees, mangoes fresh from the trees, yams fresh from the ground and stuff like that. In like 2 days, my body feels completely different.
Yes.
Same thing in Ukraine.
Absolutely. And then if you actually read the ingredients of the same things that you guys eat here in United States versus what you would eat in Europe, any people who like to drink soda, we don't drink soda, but if you drink soda and you go somewhere in Europe, read the ingredients. You will never see high fructose corn syrup in there. Only in the United States we use this stuff, which is killing us, and people still drink it.
Which was declared to supposedly have been safe, but then they started finding out, oh, well, maybe it has these side effects. And I actually had side effects of high fructose corn syrup. I was getting all these like sores on my back, and I thought it was normal like almost all my life. And then one day someone told me, oh, well, you shouldn't eat high fructose corn syrup. I literally cut high fructose corn syrup, which is very hard to do because they put it in everything because it's a sweetener and a preservative. But when I cut high fructose corn syrup, like I have not had like anything on my back. I haven't had any breakouts since then, and it's been like I don't even know how many years now. So don't believe everything that the FDA tells you.
Yes.
I don't believe the FDA for anything, and yeah, it's crazy.
And
All
then
right.
another little example I want to say. So I'm originally from Ukraine. If anybody followed us, you guys probably know. I've moved to the United States a little over than 14 years ago, and I am telling you, straight up, first 2 weeks I started feeling the effects of the food I was eating, because first of all, I didn't realize what was in it. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm going to a grocery store and buying the same potatoes, the same vegetables, same bread and stuff like that. And I was like, I was very fatigued. I could definitely start gaining weight. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? Because I eat the same stuff. I cook, because I used to cook all the time when I just got here. And later on, I start realizing when I started doing the research, I'm like, oh my God. And I noticed right away that fruits and vegetables didn't taste nothing like what I used to.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. We did talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, because it has absolutely no taste. Everything is watered down. It's not sweet. It doesn't smell like, like when you buy fresh strawberries in Ukraine, and Reza can see that, like last year we did it and this year we did it. You can smell it's a strawberry. You get a cucumber, you can smell it's a cucumber. You know what that is, and you can, it tastes that way, it smells that way. Here, it's all the same. It's
all just watered down and bland. And that brings us to another story that I wanted to talk about real quick that I read when I was researching this. So in like the 70s or the early 80s, some biological engineers created this thing called the flavor-saving tomato, which was supposed to be a tomato that saved its flavor and the reason why it saved its flavor is because they wanted to have a longer shelf life to decrease food waste and blah blah blah. But people, the actual tomato didn't last long on the market because people said it tasted nasty. It didn't taste like a regular tomato, and a lot of markets were really skeptical about it and didn't sell it. So that was like one of the first attempts at biologically engineering food that went crazy. But now it's become so common, people don't even know that they're eating a terrible apple. They just think that apples are supposed to taste bad, so people don't even eat this. Now they eat all this synthesized sugar and just like, yeah, it's so out of control.
This topic is extremely deep. If anybody interested, it's not going to take you long to get some facts. Just go on Google and Google it up. It's going to take you really deep down a rabbit hole, and you're going to be really shocked.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But so without further ado, I mean, we're already 12 minutes or something into this video. We're going to cut this apple open that's been sitting here for a year on my desk. Well, this is not my desk, obviously, but at my desk at work, and see what this thing is like. Would you eat an apple that's a year old? I don't know.
Oh, another thing, speaking, because we have an actual apple. Just like I said earlier, I'm from Ukraine. We had fresh fruits and vegetables right in our garden. One of the trees that we had was apple tree. So every fall, when it was time for a season, we would actually, get all of apples. And in order to preserve them so we can eat them during the winter, because they didn't import fruits and vegetables in Ukraine in winter, and if they did, the stuff is extremely expensive. What we did, you literally take every apple, we haven't washed it, just the way, we got it off of the tree. You wrap it in the newspaper or any paper, and we stack it in these boxes, and we put it down into the cellar, which is cold temperature, obviously, to store it for the winter. And we would eat them in the winter, make juices, do whatever with them. And even though they should be properly preserved and sit in the cold, some of them still get rotten. And the paper held them separated so, one apple doesn't touch the other, so they don't get all rotten in the whole box. And knowing how we store those apples and still what happens to them, and thinking that this just been sitting like this is just mind-blowing to me.
It's very mind-blowing. So the one thing that you said in that, and this video is going long, but seasons, like fruits used to be seasonal. Like I remember going to Bangladesh and going to Jamaica and going across the Caribbean and trying to get certain fruits, but if you don't come there in the right season, you can't get that fruit.
Yes.
Like that's going away because now these fruits have infinite shelf life. Like we can produce them year round.
Yes.
They can store forever. Like it's insane to me.
Crazy.
And this has so many implications on overpopulation, capitalism, life expectancy of human beings, cancer. Like there's so much that is wrapped around our food. And as the old adage says, you are what you eat. But would you eat a year-old apple? That's what we're about to find out. So we're about to cut this thing open.
See what it looks
and see what it looks like inside. All right, is everybody ready for this? This is the moment of truth right here. You want to cut it? I'll let you cut it.
Okay, let's see.
I'm scared a worm or something's gonna jump out of here.
All these worms would be dead by now. They can't eat this stuff. That's why there's
Okay,
no
so
worm in here.
what did it cut like?
Very soft.
Very soft. Okay.
I mean, the knife is crazy sharp, but let's see. But here's another thing. Speaking of worms, and I didn't think about it. You know, me growing our own food and stuff, you'll see worms and bugs in everything.
Now, I did not expect this. Look at that.
I thought it was going to be more brown.
Okay, this has been a year sitting on my desk.
It's still white inside, you guys. It's slightly like off-white kind of. You know how you cut the apple and if you leave it open like this, exposed to fresh air, eventually it turns brown? That's how it looks like it's been maybe sitting for like 20 minutes cut open.
This is so strange. And it's still wet on the inside.
Yeah, it's not dry. I mean, there's juice and stuff. You squeeze it.
This is crazy. I don't know if I would eat this.
No, I'm not gonna eat this. I'm telling you, if there was also no bugs in this thing for a year, that means nothing can live here. This is not safe. Because you can see if anybody grows their own produce, you know the bugs will get in there.
It has the texture of styrofoam.
Yes.
Like it's like a spongy styrofoam kind of feeling.
That's exactly what it is. It's very spongy.
All right, I guess we're gonna conclude this video there. Like that just blew my mind. Like I didn't know what to expect when we cut this apple open, but the fact that it still looks edible after sitting at room temperature for a year.
Yeah. And mind you, this came from a daycare, you guys.
That came from a daycare.
They give this to our children.
Yeah. KRT LYFE with the Y, like, subscribe, comment. I don't know if this video is going to get a ton of views, but this is crazy.
That makes you think really, really, really deep. And we already been, changing our diets and definitely watching what we eat. We read ingredients on every single thing we buy. But this makes you really, go even deeper.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Peace.
Yeah. Like sponge. And it's white inside. I thought it's gonna be brown. It's white inside.
Вообще color is not changed.
It's browning now. After we've been touching it, it's turning more like peach color.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
No. I already know the answer. Did you hear what he asked? Would you eat this?
No.
This is crazy. I would try it just for the experiment.
I am not stupid.
What it tastes like?
Yes, maybe I'm a little bit stupid, but not all.
It tastes sweeter than they usually are because I've bit these apples when we just had them picked out before. It tastes like a normal apple.
Wow. But it's definitely not a normal apple.